watch this new documentary.
Have you watched the Gamechangers documentary on Netflix? It's all scientific and factual.
One and only Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I ate a lot of meat. They showed us commercials.
Steak. That's what a man eats.
Selling that idea that real men eat meat.
Serious man food.
But you got to understand, that's marketing. That's not based on reality.
Wow, the land of make-believe.
Hot crop of fucking steaming feces. Any of my clients or athletes could acquire greater results in their performance from being on a plant-based diet.
They would be on a plant-based diet, yeah.
I just get really irritated when people basically splurge their vegan propaganda, and Netflix is a cesspit with what the health and all that other garbage that they
And they use many different tactics in doing so. Like they try and scare you into thinking that, you know, what you're doing is bad.
The issue for me comes when people come along and first of all they don't know the difference between cause and correlation, which we'll discuss in due course.
Yeah.
And there's this absolute hog swallow that becoming a vegan will somehow increase your athletic performance, your propensity to recover, build muscle, or get stronger.
When I made the switch to a plant-based diet, I qualified for my 3rd Olympic team. I broke 2 American records. I was like, man, I should have done this a long while ago.
Wow.
First of all, let's start off with one that really irked me was the fact that the documentary inferred that Nate Diaz, a vegan, beat Conor McGregor, a meat eater, because he was a vegan.
And because they actually said because he was eating up to 2 steaks a day. So they used him eating the steaks. Basically saying
so
insinuating
Nate
that's why
Diaz beat Conor McGregor via submission.
Yes, because he was a vegan.
Because he was a vegan, right? Do we need to edify
I don't think so.
people with regards to that point?
There's so many different
How
variables.
many vegan champions are there in the UFC currently?
It doesn't make any sense. I mean, you could argue and look at the fact that, look at Khabib, for example. Khabib wiped the floor with Conor a couple of months later, and he's a meat eater. Yeah. So it's completely.
So that's the biggest crock of shit I've ever seen. And then there was the thing about that specific strong man.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name. I've got it written down over here, but he holds some records in the log press, and he apparently put on 25 kilograms eating
a plant-based diet.
4 times as many carbs as he ever has historically to meet his protein content. Who would have thought? Yeah. Someone eats 4 times as many carbs and they put on 25 kilograms.
And for all we know,
so he ate 4 times as many carbs and he got fat.
Yeah. And not to mention, we don't know if he was taking pills as well.
Was he using it? But it's people coming to me like, you know that the world's strongest man is a vegan. I'm like, no.
He's not the world's strongest
No,
man.
he's not. He's not even in the top 15 world's strongest man.
I don't think we've even
And that's what I was discussing earlier. It's cause versus correlation. He is a strong man that became vegan.
Yeah.
He didn't become a strong man because he was vegan. Ooh, meat causes inflammation, and inflammation is bad. Okay, and then they used examples of how people who ate plant-based diets entirely had less inflammatory processes than people who ate animal-based products.
Yeah.
Now, I agree, too much inflammation is bad. Too much inflammation causes disease, it causes a plethora of different issues. However, inflammation is also extremely important for muscle protein synthesis and the growth and repair of new cells, because those inflammatory processes kickstart a chain reaction of events in the body which help people reach positive adaptation.
100%.
Okay, and it is also well known that in this industry, anyone that has an iota of a thinking brain, that taking far too many antioxidants and far too many anti-inflammatories
can be counterintuitive.
greatly impedes performance and productivity. So I'm not saying don't incorporate a plethora of different plants to reduce inflammatory processes, particularly if you're strength training, and particularly if you're using performance enhancing drugs.
But there's time and place for that as well.
Absolutely. So too much of anything is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Too much anti-inflammatories are just as bad as too much inflammation.
They're basically basing everything off that for an individual who follows a carnivore diet, or a person who only eats meat, and then they're comparing it to a
Anyone who
person that
follows
only
a
eats
carnivore
plants.
diet is a moron.
Yeah.
Okay? Sorry.
You can derive benefit
I
from
think
both.
that the carnivore diet is moronic. If you want to follow the carnivore diet, that's fine. Just on the proviso that you do not argue that the carnivore diet is better for health or performance. It's not.
Yeah.
In the same way that doing a plant-based only diet for health or performance is better than an omnivorous diet. It's not. A human being is an omnivore for a reason.
You can derive benefit from both
That
meat and plants.
pseudoscience about the length of our intestines and all that sort of stuff is the biggest load of shit.
Someone asked me, how could you get as strong as an ox without eating any meat? And my answer was, have you ever seen an ox eating meat?
People saying, oh well, look how big a gorilla is and it only eats plants.
There's a point there. A gorilla, from when it wakes up to when it sleeps, it literally just fucking eats.
Yes.
Because it cannot get enough nutrients from eating a small amount of plants throughout the course of the day. Just like a cow, just like any herbivore.
You know, a gorilla eating that amount of foliage every day is the equivalent of a human being eating like 10 to 12 pounds of vegetables on a daily basis.
Something to that
Good luck
extent.
doing that.
Yeah.
You know, another thing that a lot of people don't take into account is that too much fiber is, too little fiber is too bad for you. Too much fiber is also very bad for you.
Yeah.
Too much fiber causes the malabsorption of nutrients and minerals. Too much fiber slows gastric emptying. Too much fiber blunts muscle protein synthesis. Okay, and the growth and repair and the subsequent growth and repair of cells.
Yeah.
They also went in there and they showed those pseudoscientific blood tests, and they were like, oh well, look what happens when someone eats, you know, the fried chicken burrito and the beef burrito compared to when they eat the bean burrito.
And the blood was cloudy and the one was clear.
Today's blood and yesterday's blood.
Yeah.
Okay, and they were somehow inferring the fact that animal proteins reduce endothelial capacity.
Yeah.
Who eats a massive steak just before they train?
Yeah. Yeah. Or just the steak. Yeah.
Like which person who has the tiniest inkling of nutrition understanding eats a steak immediately before they train or immediately following training?
For a source of energy.
Okay, that's number one. Yes, the documentary was going on about the fact how for decades people relied on animal proteins for energy.
Retarded.
Any child, okay, at school that's doing basic biology will tell you that carbohydrates are the primary fuel source of human beings.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay, you want more energy, you drink an Energade, okay, or you have a sugary beverage for more energy while you're doing your sporting events. You know, you eat more carbohydrate-laden or carbohydrate-dense foods to supply you with energy. Not to say that you can't get your energy elsewhere, but it's far less efficient.
100%.
Okay, so that was ridiculous. There are also some drawbacks to, you know, the saturated fats in animal proteins that can lower insulin sensitivity, and so on and so forth. Do you know what else reduces or causes vasoconstriction to a massive degree? Fructose. Where do you find fructose?
From fruits.
Correct. Fructose is the primary constituent in all fruit. Vegans. So having a fruity meal before, during, or after training will also be extremely vasoconstrictive, and I'll argue even more vasoconstrictive than having saturated fats or animal-based proteins.
But you could use fruit to your advantage prior to a weight training session.
Fruit has pros and it has cons.
Just
if
like-
you're looking purely on how it affects vasoconstriction, that's stupid. You know, people are that's a very good example of what Stan Efferding likes to call standing over $100 bills to pick up 25-cent pieces.
Yes.
Oh, you know, I want to make sure that I've got as much anti-inflammatory as possible, and I'm also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid the animal proteins because of, you know, of vasoconstriction. Okay, animal protein elicits a far greater spike in muscle protein synthesis than plant-based protein. Okay, and it's not just about all of the essential amino acids. Now, the documentary also said you can get all of your amino acids from plants. Yes, but you have to mix and match various types of plant sources to do that. And when you do that, you're increasing the calories of the other macronutrients that you don't need.
So in the documentary, they compared a peanut butter sandwich to 3 boiled eggs. So
In terms of protein content, they said it's exactly the same.
complete lie. I mean, if you look at peanut butter, for example, I would say on average you would put about a tablespoon of peanut butter per sandwich. Let's just even say it's a heaped tablespoon. You're getting about 4 grams of protein from that tablespoon of peanut butter, but you're also getting 100 calories.
Let's do that.
So you would need 5 tablespoons of peanut butter to get 18 grams of protein.
Hold that thought. Let's do this recipe right now.
Yeah.
Right?
So 3 whole eggs would give you about 18 grams of protein.
1 whole egg, large.
Yeah.
3 of them, this one says 18.9 grams of protein.
So let's call it 18 grams of protein.
19, round up.
Okay.
19 grams of protein. 1 tablespoon of peanut butter.
You're going to get about 4 grams. Not to mention 100 calories per tablespoon of peanut butter.
1 tablespoon, protein, 4 grams.
Yeah.
Okay, so to get the same amount of protein content,
you would need 5.
You would need 5 tablespoons of peanut butter. That's a very big peanut butter sandwich. Okay, not to mention the fact that there are 470 calories in 5 tablespoons of peanut butter, and
3 whole eggs. It's probably between 250 and 300.
220.
Even less.
So you're getting twice as many calories, okay, for an incomplete protein source.
Yeah.
So leucine is an essential amino acid. Now, essential amino acid means that our body lacks the ability to synthesize of its own volition.
Yeah.
We have to get it externally. We have to get it exogenously.
Yes.
Okay. Leucine stimulates or spikes or elicits muscle protein synthesis or mTOR.
Yeah.
And you need at least 2.7 grams of leucine minimum to spike muscle protein synthesis.
Yeah.
Any less than that, you do not spike muscle protein synthesis.
Would that depend? Would that vary and change depending on the size of the individual? So obviously, the bigger you are, the more you would need, or is it just?
You can argue the merits of having more leucine over and above 2.7 grams for a greater insulin spike, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay, but under 2.7 grams of leucine is largely inconsequential for muscle protein synthesis.
Okay.
So if you're eating a whole plethora of plant-based food, so you're eating brown rice and lentils, for example, which, as I understand it, form a complete protein source. Okay. Are you getting enough leucine content to elicit muscle protein synthesis?
No.
Why is muscle protein synthesis important? Because that is the sequence that is the prime, the most important factor and aspect with regards to
muscle
recovering and gaining muscle tissue. So, it was disingenuous of the documentary to say yes, you can get, to say you can get all of your amino acids from plant-based proteins. Yes. But you have to mix and match a plethora of different plants to ensure you get the full spectrum of essential amino acids. And that's notwithstanding the fact that you're most probably going to be increasing your calorific total quite substantially, which is going to impact all sorts of other things.
You're going to eat so much less.
Exactly. Okay, and another thing is gastric emptying. The amount of foods that you have to ingest to hit a certain protein quota, you're going to be completely stuffed and satiated, notwithstanding the fact that your fiber is going to be clogging everything up, or the superfluous amounts of fiber is going to be clogging everything up, and it just becomes an absolute fuck show. Yeah, the endothelial capacity and the vasoconstriction, absolute load of fucking horse shit. Yeah. They also went in to say, if you have beetroot juice, can increase your bench press strength by 19%. That's a hot crock of shit, if ever I saw one.
Imagine going to a powerlifting meet.
That's not to say, an omnivore can incorporate beetroots in their diet to benefit from the nitrates therein.
Which you do already.
Every single one of my athletes has beetroot juice, and I can assure you they haven't increased their bench press by 19%, and they wouldn't if they took animal-based proteins out of their diet. In fact, I would argue 100% if I were a betting man, I'd put everything I own on the fact that if they took animal proteins out of their diet, they would get substantially weaker and lose muscle mass.
No doubt.
We haven't gone in detail as much as some of the other guys have. I said there's some fantastic reviews out there. James Smith gave a really good one. There's some written reviews. I'll post some of the links maybe below. But by and large, the Gamechanger documentary is a big crock of shit. The producers, Arnie, those that are involved, have all have ties to vegan food industries or supplements or something like that, and have something to gain by pushing that vegan narrative and that 100%. Vegan agenda.
If you just have a look at all the individuals, giving information or providing evidence in the documentary, each and every single one of them is selling some sort of vegan-based book or diet plans. And like you said, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I did a bit of research, and he's involved in a joint venture with LeBron James, a famous basketball player from the United States.
They're releasing a vegan range of supplements.
Yeah, so they're endorsing a company called Ladder, which has plant-based nutrition supplementation, and it's like $100 million contract. So what advantage does he have by pushing that, the vegan protocol? And not to mention, let's discuss that quickly with regards to Arnold Schwarzenegger. 7-time Mr. Olympia. Do you think he would have won Mr. Olympia?
I don't think,
vegan?
I know he wouldn't have won.
And then
in his bodybuilding encyclopedia, he made constant reference to Bill Pearl, who was a well-known vegetarian in those days, and said, Bill Pearl was one of the few people back in the days that led me to believe that a vegetarian could become a good bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Who was Bill Pearl in the bodybuilding world?
And no one.
Okay, and also kind of complimenting him, but surreptitiously to say, there, Bill Pearl, like Bill Pearl, good job with that vegetarian-based diet.
Not to mention the fact that he says that since he was following a plant-based diet, his LDL cholesterol has decreased. Of course it's decreased. And he's referring back to when he was eating meat. The amount of meat consumption that he's stopped, or that he's eating now compared to when he was Mr. Olympia, is probably like a quarter. Sure. And not to mention that he's not using any performance-enhancing drugs as well.
And if you were to sit here and compare someone that's a heavy meat eater compared to someone that's a total pescatarian, okay, and eats a shit ton of salmon and king salmon and pilchards and mackerel on a daily basis, let's compare HDL and LDL and triglycerides and lipid profiles there. I think you get a very, very, very different result.
So I think, what we can take from this is that there's two ways in which you can look at it.
One, the documentary is a big crock of steaming shit.
And also, you need to look at it from this way. Let's just say, for example, an individual is following a very detailed omnivore-based diet, where they're monitoring their macronutrient intakes, they're monitoring their micronutrients.
And incorporating a plethora of plant-based produce that has fantastic benefit.
And the same from the vegan side. Both individuals will have good blood panels, but then you get omnivores who eat Big Macs every single day and have a piss-poor diet. Their blood panels are going to be garbage, just like you get vegans who eat nothing but fucking quinoa and a banana each day, and their blood panels are going to be
that's it. All of their references are like, oh yeah, this is so much better than the Western-based diet. Eating your own feces is better than the majority of Western-based diets.
Yeah.
Okay, no one's dispelling that. That's our entire profession, career, mantra, and ethos is about moving people away from that. But that's certainly not into the arms of vegan zealots.
I feel they need to redo this, and they need to take a number of different athletes. They need to put them on an omnivore-based diet, a vegan-based diet, and you put someone on something that's closely monitored with regards to, like I said, macro and micronutrients, and then take someone who's following a Western diet, and then do bloods in the beginning, and then do bloods after, and then put them on the track and do some athletic performance with regards to weightlifting, running.
There are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds of studies to prove the fact that animal protein is far more beneficial for performance, muscle protein synthesis, the growth and repair of new cells than plant-based proteins.
Yeah.
Okay. Biological value, essential amino acid structure and complete proteins, digestibility, gastric clearance, etc., 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 etc. Where plant-based might have more benefit is in the inflammatory, is from the inflammatory argument.
Yeah.
And yes, eating huge amounts of red meat or higher amounts of red meat is going to increase inflammatory processes. So you mitigate that as much as possible by incorporating plants.
The fact of the matter is that you can use both to your advantage.
Correct. So if you want to follow a vegan diet for moral purposes, fantastic. If you're arguing that it is healthier than a very balanced omnivorous diet, that's a crock of shit. Yeah. And if you would like to argue that people become strong men, or people win cage fights, or people become better bodybuilders by throwing away animal protein, you're a moron.